Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
It's the first day of August, and according to science, we've passed the hottest part of the summer. So let's get to the news. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm with executive producer Sonia Cho Swanson and my co-host David Figler. And we're talking about the strip mall fire near UNLV, the peptide injections that put 2 women in the hospital, and the Beyoncé concert that changed all of our lives. It's Friday, August 1st. I'm Sarah Lohman, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. David and Sonia, good morning. Welcome to August. Summer's almost over. Summer's over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
August.
God.
I know. We're all excited. It used to make me sad when I lived out east, but now I'm like, oh, good. We'll get to the nice weather. So I've got a bit of a bummer of a hot headline for us this week. We wanted to take a moment. No. It's a bummer, David. We're talking about a shooting. You can't do it. Headline.
Sorry about that, y'all.
So I have kind of a sad, hot headline because, of course, there was a shooting this past week in New York that was committed by a resident of Las Vegas. So I'm sure everybody's heard about this, but I wanted to provide a couple updates. So his name is Shane Devin Tamora, 27 years old, Las Vegas resident, and his home here was recently searched. I think the most significant find was an additional suicide note to his family apologizing. As we know, he drove across country to commit the shooting in New York. There was also a suicide note found in his pocket, basically expressing grievances with the NFL, saying that he suffered from CTE, which is chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And this is a known injury that is caused by repeated concussions and has been connected with the NFL. And so actually the New York medical examiner says that his brain is going to be examined for CTE to see if that contributed to the shooting. However,
and just to be clear, he wasn't an NFL player, but he did play football in college, I believe.
Yeah, and probably high school as well. They're basically saying he was a competitive player. But of course, there's been quite a bit of controversy recently about these chronic football injuries that some feel that the NFL has not done enough about. Not that this is at all an appropriate solution.
Right.
So Tamara also has had some mental health issues, which has raised questions about how he was able to obtain a concealed carry license at all. And
let alone the
bottles
weapons and the ammunition.
Exactly. Yeah. In his home, investigators found antidepressants, antipsychotic medications, anti-epileptic medications, and anti-inflammatory medications. None of those individual things or even together should mean that someone goes and shoots somebody. So clearly there's other factors involved. I just want to make that clear. And then so the last development of note is that Governor Kathy Hochul of New York has pointed the blame at the state of Nevada and what she calls our lax gun laws as partly to blame for the shooting. So those are all the updates as of right now, but we're going to be following this story. So we're going to be moving on to sort of a local tragedy. Luckily, everyone's okay, but there was a strip mall that, the footage of this fire was pretty incredible, Sonia, and it was located by UNLV. Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened?
Yes. So y'all saw the footage, right? You saw the flames.
The blazing inferno.
Yeah.
It was and if you didn't see the footage, you could see the smoke just walking around because it was pretty dense and it covered the sky.
Huge fire. Yeah. So 1 week ago today, firefighters rushed to Maryland and Tropicana, right across from UNV campus. There's a shopping center there called the University Gardens. And a fire was just raging, consumed a good part of the building. The building is actually now condemned. But the businesses there that have been completely obliterated include both a post office and a Creole restaurant. So far, investigators are saying that the fire most likely started inside. And it's interesting because actually there are no sprinklers inside this building because of the year of construction. Sprinklers are not mandated to be sort of retroactively or retrofitted into these
commercial buildings can be grandfathered in to not have sprinklers?
Yes.
That's bananas, Sonia.
Well, I have I went down a whole rabbit hole in sprinklers there, which we can go down if you'd like.
This
but
is what we do for you here at CityCast.
I love a good nerdy rabbit hole. But let me just wrap this up by saying that it particularly kind of shocked UNLV students and staff because this shopping center was a favorite of students and staff for such a long time, for so many years. And on top of it, it actually was kind of architecturally interesting and unique. It's not your average strip mall. So I was watching this interview on KTNV with Holly Ray Vaughn, who does Battleborn pins and is just a huge fan of everything vintage Las Vegas. And
she's an amazing artist and
such a great artist.
Her channel's a lot of fun. She does a lot of deep dives into Vegas stuff.
And she actually did tour this strip mall before, obviously, it burned down. And you can see, and she describes all this incredible, like, wood paneling, custom woodwork, octagonal windows. Like, it's actually really interesting. And it's a great example of, like, kind of mid-century 70s architecture. Like, not your typical strip mall. But now it is, it's going to have to be torn down. The building has been burned beyond repair.
And slated for demolition at this point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really surprised when things started coming out about how this was kind of special because, it's a strip mall. And I feel like we have this tendency to overlook them, although we are aware that the best food is in strip malls. But that's a very West Coast thing. You know what I mean? It's just like daily commercial architecture. So
right. It's our vernacular architecture, to borrow a word from the practitioners.
Yes. So to see that it was so special has made me think about these places in a different way. David, we both live in mid-century ranch houses. Mine is early 20th century. And I feel like it's another type of structure that might be overlooked. But, I once heard this historical preservationist talking about that we're not at a point where we see mid-20th century architecture as valuable because it's too recent. Do you think that Vegas sort of overlooks our gorgeous mid-century architecture as worthy of preservation?
Overlook is maybe a strong word. Maybe it's more like just has become so used to new development that we forget about the older places. So, obviously growing up here in Las Vegas, I have a fond recollection of all these buildings that aren't around anymore that in my memory were like these amazing structures, with just the level of detail. And I remember running around as a kid, like all these cool things. And as an adult, I'm sure I would have appreciated it. But, even the Nevada State Bank building on Charleston, which just went down, there was a lot of outcry.
No.
But, it was purchased by a nearby nonprofit, and they just architecturally couldn't sustain it. At least, that was the study that they presented to the neighbors, because this is close to my neighborhood. And they're trying to preserve elements of it. But I think, part of it is it's just really hard to maintain these sort of older structures. And Vegas is very into, creating buzz and hype. And it's harder to do that here with the older buildings. So it's unfortunate, but there are fewer and fewer of these buildings, even from my childhood, that still exist, even though I have fond memories of a lot of them, including this shopping center, not from my youth, but from, my adulthood. I used to go to that post office. I went to many of the shops that were in there. I think there was a Mr. Bill's there, which was an old school smoke shop back in the 80s that had
and there
lots
was
of fun
a vape
commercials.
Store there recently. So that
there you go. Yeah.
Continues.
Do we know what the cause of this thing was or no?
No, there's no cause reported yet. In fact, the building has been so damaged beyond repair, it's possible that we'll never find out because firefighters just can't really get into the building safely to do a thorough examination.
And of course, it's in part because of the gorgeous wood paneling that the building, really was blazing too.
Actually, can I do my little aside here?
Oh my God, please.
Are you ready for this nerdy aside? It turns out that modern buildings with all of our prefab chemical kind of materials, nylon couches and whatever, actually go up in flames faster and hotter than buildings from the 70s and before.
Oh.
And that is why sprinklers are so crucial in modern buildings, because sprinklers slow down and delay these fires and reduce the heat of them and allowing people to escape. It gives you those crucial extra minutes to get out of the house before the blaze kind of goes up and gets even hotter and more deadly. And I read an article in which Robert Nolan, Senior Deputy Fire Chief with Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, talks about fire sprinklers. And he says, Residential sprinklers are the answer to get us back to where we were. So basically, if you have a modern house, you get a fire that's about 5 to 8 times hotter than you would with a traditional 1970s era home.
Sonia.
Mind-blowing.
I love thinking about you reading all of this about sprinklers.
Yes, it was mind-blowing.
I mean, I've just learned so much. I feel like a lot of buildings that are really worthy of preservation are still out there. Like Vegas reuses, it's hidden under layers of like refab, you know what I mean? New paneling, stuff like that. And I'm often surprised when I stumble across something that's like so beautiful here in the city. I wonder if it's because we're such a new city that we haven't quite developed a sense of our history. And of course, I want to shout out places like the Nia Museum and Nevada Preservation who are doing this good work.
Yes.
But just out of curiosity, you two are longtime Vegas residents. Are there spaces that you would really like to see, on like a historic registrar, protected in some way? What do you think?
Well, everyone always immediately goes to Save the Huntridge, the old Huntridge Theater, which is in a little bit of disrepair. I was in it not terribly long ago when when the J. Dapper Company announced that they were going to attempt to reno it.
Yeah, same. I actually did a tour with Nevada Preservation. They took us inside. It was cool to see because I never saw a show in there like you probably have, David.
Yeah, hundreds. I've actually played shows there. But yeah,
David.
That's an easy one. But also people, wonder about the new renderings. Is there enough of the old building that will still be there to be able to bring it up to, modern standards? That's kind of interesting.
Even just having the sign, up and lit is wonderful. But yeah, I think we're all sort of waiting for that project to move forward, which seems like it's been in kind of suspension for a couple years too.
Yeah, there's some big old fight with AT&T about a long-term lease about a cell tower on the property or something. I think that's kind of junking it up. And even with the Nevada State Bank building that I mentioned, which started life as the Frontier Savings building, so it does go way back into Vegas history. The architects very thoughtfully tried to incorporate elements like the brise soleil and things of that nature that made it distinguishable and, doing the best they can to homage to the historical import of that building. But, sometimes just because of those old buildings and some of the challenges of it, that's as good as you can get. And that is sad.
What do you think, Sonia? Are there spaces that you would like to see a preservation effort?
Actually, speaking of that beautiful brise, what'd you call it again? Brise soleil? Was that what it's called? Ah, very French. I like it. At the bank building. I mean, it just looks kind of like these almost like patterned screens, that kind of provides shade but also let breeze through. Apparently, Palm Mortuary, their main building, has similar kind of these like shade structures. I love those. I think they're beautiful.
A breeze block. Love a breeze block.
Yeah, and they're just kind of like reminiscent to me of like almost like Middle Eastern kind of geometric like screens and so forth, like just like the patterns on them. Gorgeous. So I think that's another building I'd love to see preserved.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go through old neighborhoods like mine or Paradise Palms, you see a lot of these old houses that have a lot of these really cute elements. And I think that's what kind of keeps our neighborhoods hot, if you will, for that people who do appreciate it can appreciate what used to be in Vegas in the 50s and 60s.
So my pick might seem a little bit weird, but there is this old sign on Charleston that I pass all the time, like when I'm coming downtown to visit you, David. And it is like, it's really beautiful, and it shows how Vegas has changed over time. Like the top says Morisco's, and then the middle says cocktails, and then there's like a Christian cross on the bottom. And it's just like, this sign has been adapted to these different, periods in this building's history, but it's so old and strange that I'm always afraid it's going to disappear. And I mean, I guess that's why I appreciate the Nia Museum, right? Because they preserve things that are taken for granted, like signage for our local businesses. Yeah,
but it's not
I
cheap.
Just love it.
Let's just say that too.
Cheap.
They, it's a nonprofit, and if people want to see that kind of preservation, they have to contribute.
This tragedy has made me aware of something that I would have overlooked that was not only a beautiful building, but also really a cornerstone of the local community too. So even though it wasn't a cornerstone of my community, now I miss it, now that it's gone. Such a bummer.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off site-wide, plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
So, David, in some strange news this week, there was a recent convention focused on essentially alternative medicine here in Las Vegas that ended up sending 2 women to the hospital. What happened?
This is a fascinating story, and it's fresh because it just happened on July 13th, and we already have a in-depth analysis in ProPublica by friend of the pod, Anjanette Damon.
Wow.
Yeah, and the title of the piece kind of says it all, and there's so much kind of twist and turn and nuance in it. I hope people will check that out. It's called "A Las Vegas Festival Promised Ways to Cheat Death to Attendees Left Fighting for Their Lives."
Mm-hmm.
Bum, bum, bum.
It's a good title.
Yeah,
Whoever came up with
title.
that. I hope it was the writer that she turned that into the editor and was like, bam.
I think I
Sorry,
got
I
the
shouldn't
title
joke
for
about
this
this.
piece.
Putting her in the hospital.
Well, and the 2 women seem to be doing okay. There wasn't really an update because it's so recent. But it all surrounds something called the RAD Fest. You want to know what that acronym is, right?
Of course.
It's the Revolution Against Aging and Death Festival.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Radfest.
So this is a festival that's out of a business in Arizona that has for a long time sort of promoted itself as a way to beat the odds, to extend your life using these sort of alternative health therapies. And central to a lot of this is a lineup with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., our, Secretary of Health and Human Services, vow to end the war on peptides by the FDA. So there's this strong belief that peptides
what is
somehow...
a peptide?
I didn't know there was a war on them.
There's a war on everything. So if you expect to celebrate Christmas and get peptides in your stocking, you're double stuck because there's a war on everything. A peptide's just a chain of amino acids. It's, the building block to proteins, of course. And
they're in our muscles already, essentially.
Yeah. So
in our protein.
These amino acids together bond, and they're used in many applications, skincare, various medicines, etc., most of which is, regulated by the FDA. But a lot of these alternative health therapies don't make it through. Anyhow, there was a doctor from Arizona who does not have a license in Las Vegas or Nevada. And they had this festival at Red Rock Resort and Casino, basically open to the public. He had a booth there, and he was administering therapies at his booth. Now, this doctor, Dr. Haltorf, is not licensed in Nevada, but he says he did have a licensed nurse practitioner and another doctor who were doing the actual injections of this peptide mixture. You don't just give people peptides. It's usually a compound drug with other things in there. And this wasn't screened by anyone particularly, at least according to the ProPublica article. And whether or not the nurse practitioner or the doctor who may have done these injections was licensed in Nevada was kind of an unknown in the story at this point. All that said, there were 2 women, one a 38-year-old from California and the other a 51-year-old here from Nevada, who received the injections at the Rad Fest at this doctor's booth. And then very quickly thereafter, their tongues swelled up and they couldn't breathe. One of them had to be intubated. because she couldn't breathe. They were rushed to the hospital, and they were considered to be critical for a little while, but it does sound like they are getting better. And there might have been a handful of other people who also went to that booth, and they're trying to track all that down. Now there's an investigation. The Southern Nevada Health District, the Nevada Board of Pharmacy, they're like, yeah, we need to figure out why these people are hospitalized. The organizer of the event, another Arizona businessman named James Stroll, has essentially built his entire career selling the promise of eternal life to his followers. He founded this company with two other people, both who died. So proof not on that particular pudding.
I have two follow-up questions.
Yeah.
One, do we know what happened? Did these women have an allergic reaction? Is that known, like why they had such a reaction to this peptide injection?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, the doctor involved and the organizer all say, look, this is probably just an allergic reaction. It certainly couldn't have been the peptides. And again, getting into the nuance of how he is, sort of defending himself is very interesting in the story.
And I think the concoctions that these women received, both of their shots included at least, according to ProPublica, at least one component described by the FDA as posing significant risks when compounded. So that seems like a big red flag right there on the surface.
It seems like they had a reaction different than other people. They must have, because they were the only two that ended up in the hospital. I guess my final question on the story is, like, what do peptides promise us? Why would we be getting peptide injections?
Well, according to Robert Kennedy and others, it is the key to unlocking longevity, that it restores and renews the cells in our bodies and allows us to kind of go on well beyond our expiration dates. But, the whole thing to me is just just use common sense when you come to Las Vegas. You're going to a health festival at a casino. Let's just be real.
This isn't, something that's limited to Las Vegas. Obviously, with someone like RFK in our government right now, there is a lot of belief in alternative medicines, some of which is very ill-advised.
And I don't want to poo-poo it.
Oh, I do. Some of it is very ill-advised. But, a lot of it has come about because of social media, but a lot of it has come about because the American healthcare system has let us down. But speaking about please don't go out and get peptide shots, everyone. Please don't do dangerous things. But, Sonia, is there something about the culture of conventions in Las Vegas that might have made these two women particularly vulnerable? Especially someone's traveling here for a convention. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One is that a convention in Vegas automatically has an air of like officiality, right? Like it's not a convention in Prim. It's not a convention in Laughlin. No shade to Prim or Laughlin, or maybe a little. I don't know. But when you say, I'm going to Las Vegas for a convention, that's where we have like CES, right?
Yeah.
And I think conventions like CES and the biggest like concrete world, these are where the biggest expos happen. And it's also where we're sort of reputed to share the most cutting edge, the most new science, the most recent innovations. And so I think there's a bit of a sheen of that here. And I think, too, just because when you go to a convention, I think people aren't aware how unregulated they can be. The fact that, apparently, according to this article, doctors who are licensed out of state are required to get a sort of special temporary in-state license. And yet there is no procedure in place to confirm that any of those doctors had that temporary license. So there's some kind of mismatch here, some kind of step in the process missing, which you'd assume would be fixed.
And then, all the convention spaces in town clamor for these festivals and conventions and gatherings. And I don't know how well vetted any of that is on the part of the property or the entity. Now, they talked to the event organizer saying, what did you know about this doctor? And he told ProPublica that, we looked at all these things, everything we believe to be, above board and safe and following all local regulations and stuff. But, no one's talked to whether or not Red Rock Resort or LVCVA, if they were involved, or anyone else, who brings these things, which is the lifeblood of our community, into checking it. And yet, like I think Sonia says, there is this sort of sheen of credibility. And then, that's without even getting to their paid sponsorship on local media, which I also want to kind of mention.
Sure. We do have this culture of being obsessed with anti-aging. I have to say that for my entire life, I've been sold like Oil of Olay commercials about reverse aging and da-da-da. which I don't really want to. Like, I'm happy getting older, you know? But, like, do you think that Las Vegas is particularly at the center of this whole, like, not just body image, but, like, be younger, live forever, apparently, was part of the messaging of this conference? What do you think?
Yeah. That's a really insightful point. I think that's a really good point, that's yet another reason why Vegas is a good spot for it, because it is a place, you know, of unbridled enjoyment and no regrets. And just you can, for a moment, live your best life. And so, yeah, I think a thing like this definitely works best in Las Vegas. I mean, I could see the podcast in 10 years about the false promises of the tsunami of peptides or something like that, and Vegas being the center of that future podcast in 2035.
What do you think, Sonia? I definitely think that there are other places that are a little bit more image focused than we are in Vegas.
Yeah, and I guess I just feel like this quest for immortality is like universal and also age old, right? Like it is sort of a human existential question. Actually, there's a sort of apocryphal tale of, I guess, the first emperor of China who was obsessed with immortality. He actually had poets follow him around, like reciting poetry or singing songs about immortality. He banned the word death in his presence. And then it actually turns out that he died, got sick and died at age 49. And historians and scientists actually think that it was because he consumed too much mercury in an attempt to extend his life.
Oh my
God! When
God!
they dug up his
colloidal
remains,
silver trend that's also a thing right now. Don't eat silver, everybody. Your
Yeah.
body doesn't need it.
I'm going to ban the word bald around me. No one's allowed to use the word bald, and
That
maybe
solves that.
my hair will grow back.
There we go. But I guess what my point is that like this is an age old. I mean, this festival, the RAD festival, is just another iteration of what is human existence. You know, our obsession and our fear of death, our fear of aging.
Well, the pursuit of immortality is silly because everybody knows the only way to become immortal is to become a vampire. So until they're offering free vampire bites at RAD, you won't see me there. All right, so some of the biggest news this week is that Beyoncé was in town. Beyoncé wrapped her Cowboy Carter tour here in Vegas. And I actually saw a headline, I forgot to look this up again, that like we've expected an economic boost here in Vegas due to Beyoncé's very presence in our city.
Yes, more Beyoncé, less Oakland A's, please.
Yeah, can we build her a stadium instead?
Yes.
Okay, so she did 2 nights of shows here for the end of her tour, and by all accounts, she really brought it. I have to admit, I've been avoiding social media on it because apparently everyone I knew went, and I'm insanely jealous because I decided to buy a house instead of Beyoncé tickets, and they're not the same price range, but when you buy a house, you have no money afterwards. So I'm kind of mad about it, but that's not Beyoncé's fault. Also, do you guys remember the rumors about her maybe having a Sphere residency?
Yeah.
And then there was that cease and desist when she like featured the Sphere in her show animations.
Uh-huh.
So, of course, then she came here and killed it. And I kind of hope that the Sphere is jealous, honestly, because
look what you could have had.
So she was at Allegiant Stadium. And what everyone was most pumped about was that she brought out a bunch of special guests. There was a Destiny's Child reunion, which we haven't seen since the Super Bowl in 2018. So Michelle Williams and Kelly Rowland came out and did, I think, 3 songs with her. And I guess when they appeared on stage, Beyoncé said, "Destiny's Child, bitch!" So that's also great, too. She brought her husband out, which is so nice. Husband of Beyoncé.
She has a husband?
I can't even remember his name.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's Jay-Z, but still. Beyonce's husband.
Jay-Z what? Just joking.
Zimmerman? I don't know.
It stands for Jay Zimmerman.
Jay Zimmerman, Jay Zimmerman, her Beyonce's husband.
Yeah, got it.
I thought his last name was Knowles.
Now we're talking. She also brought out Shabuzi. I don't know if you're familiar with his music, but he was heavily featured on the Cowboy Carter album. And he was known before that, but that like really launched his stardom. He's this Black country music star and it's just like really shaking up the scene. It's very
Carter.
Exciting.
That's the last name. I'm being silly.
Real?
That's JC's real last name. Yes, that's where Cowboy Carter comes from.
Zimmerman.
Obviously. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but still. Blue Ivy was there dancing. the sequined assless chaps were chapping. Like, it just looks pretty incredible. So
people are losing their stuff. People were going insane.
Everyone who's gone across the country have been like, this has changed my life. And so I just can't think about it too hard because I'm just going to be mad that I didn't get to go see it. So my question to the two of you is, if Beyoncé kept bringing out surprise guests, because she was like, it's Destiny's Child, bitch, it's my husband, it's Shabuzi, like, what would the next 3 guests be in your ideal world?
Can I go first?
Sure, yes. David, go for it.
All right. She says, I want to bring out my former lover from 1975 at the Studio 69. Please welcome to the stage, Austin Powers.
Oh, that's funny.
She was in the Austin Powers movie. She played FBI agent Foxy Cleopatra.
I was like, wasn't she born in like 1983? Yeah, she did. She played Foxy in Austin Powers too.
Yes.
Oh.
She was so young.
She was 20. Great. She was 20-year-old Beyoncé, but she would bring out Austin Powers. She'd bring out Mike Myers dressed as Austin Powers, and they would do the dance. I would love that.
And then next?
And then, then Dr. Evil would show up. The whole thing. The whole gang. Mini-Me, everybody.
And the cat?
So the cat?
We get the little cat?
Yeah, and even Mr. Bigglesworth would show up.
That's great. And hopefully in a little wig, because I love it when a naked cat wears a wig. Sonia, what do you think?
I was just racking my brains, and then I remembered that there is a house in Las Vegas that is full of Muppet paraphernalia. There's a Muppet aficionado who lives in Las Vegas and has turned his house into a Muppet museum. So I think she brings him and his cohort of Muppets on stage, and we just have like a Muppet version of Cowboy Carter. Yeah?
This is so bizarre because in my trio of guests, the first one is Miss Piggy.
What?
Like we came up with this totally independently. Like, just imagine how electrifying it is. She's like, and welcome to the stage, Miss Piggy, and the crowd. That's weird that we're on the same page on that.
I know.
And then Kermit comes out with a banjo, and then they sing Rainbow Connection together.
No. It's just Miss Piggy, because my trio is all about the complicated divas. So imagine the escalating fervor as Beyoncé first brings to the stage Miss Piggy, and they do a duo or whatever, and she's like, Kirby! And then next, she's like, and welcome to the stage, Dionne Warwick. And then it's Dionne Warwick out there. And she's just like, I don't know who you are, but I'm happy to be here. And then finally, she's like, and welcome to the stage, Hillary Clinton. Just this escalation of stardom.
Diva after diva. I love it.
Diva after diva after diva. A little confusing, but also I feel like people would be there for it, you know?
Wow. That's a lot. I love it.
Yeah,
I love every little bit.
That's the show I want to see. All right. Well, David and Sonia, thank you so much for this, and happy end of summer.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah,
well, summer goes on and on, but thank you.
Actually, David, before we go, we've got some shout outs from our neighbors, our members that want to say lovely things about small businesses in our neighborhood. Would you mind sharing our neighbor shout outs?
I would love to, Sarah. Sam Yu would like to shout out Grouchy John's Coffee, one of my favorites.
Grouchy John's. Open late.
He says, John and JJ have created a great inviting atmosphere that is open to all in the community. Grouchy Nation forever. Hear, Sam Yu. And Lindsay G writes, the Aboto Collective. They have a wonderful community garden and greengrocer supporting one of our most food insecure neighborhoods. Yes, go Aboto. And Andrew D loves the Peppermill. Who doesn't love the Peppermill? He says it's still old school Las Vegas and the food is okay too.
The food is okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, you too can get your own shout out on the pod and in the newsletter by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor. And you can do that at membership.citycast.fm. Looking forward to it.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. Our executive producer is Sonia Cho Swanson. Our producer is Layla Mohammed, and our roving producer is Natalie Rivera. Our newsletter editor is Rob Katchel-Reese, and our hosts are David Figler and me, Sarah Lohman. Music is by OG Moose, Brent Busby, courtesy of Epidemic Sound, and All the Kimonos. We record this show on the traditional homelands of the Nawubi, the Southern Paiute people. Hey, if you enjoyed this show, please share it with a friend. You can rate our show and leave us a review where you get your pods, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Las Vegas. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Take care.